Hello, Niner faithful, and welcome to the Johnny Dale Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game. We do that by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There, you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you can be part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and Twitter, or X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, the usual suspects. You're inside the Johnny Dale Football Academy. Welcome into a breaking news, very special Johnny Dale Football Academy podcast. Joined with me, of course, is Johnny Dell. Remember, guys, to hit the hashtag JD49. A lot of you have already done that. It's getting so fun to see. Before we even freaking go live, I love all the JD49s in there. So thank you to all of you. But we are boosting the algorithm to try and get all of um, get into it and get into this Gregory trade, right? That's the hot topic. I don't know much about him. We were talking just now before the show. What does everyone know about Randy Gregory?
Well, for me, he was a guy who was productive in Dallas. Was a guy that when we played him last season was really helping pressure the quarterback. He was a pretty good running mate to Micah Parsons, and he was supposed to be a big addition to the Broncos, and seems to have fallen out of favor pretty quick. And the Broncos, essentially, the thought was that they were going to release him. It was actually it broke that they had released him. Apparently, that wasn't totally true. And I love the way we scooped him up. I absolutely love this. That we ended up, you don't want to wait around for the waiver wire. If the 49ers were to sit there and say, okay, we're going to put in a waiver claim for him and just get him for his contract, then you're not really probably going to get him. I mean, San Francisco was like 28th, 29th in line to claim him off of waivers. So you don't wait around for the other 27 teams ahead of you to put in a claim for him. What you do is you go ahead and you make a trade for essentially nothing. I mean, Denver is most likely going to be picking at the top of the 7th round. They were in the 6th spot in each round last season because of how they finished. They're not looking like they're going to finish much better this year. And San Francisco was near the end of each round. And so you're looking at, okay, they moved maybe 6, 7, 8 spots back in the draft in the 7th round, from the end of the 6th to the beginning of the 7th to get the guy that you weren't going to get on the waiver wire most likely. So I love it.
No way.
Just you move back a few spots and you pick up a guy who can be highly productive, and they're really putting together a scary front. I mean, when you can come at teams in waves, that's a big deal. And one thing that seems to have been missing. See, I thought they were going to bring Cleveland Farrell in to play that role that Arden Key played, that Charles Omenihu played, and we really haven't seen that yet. And I feel like it's because he's playing more of that Samson Ebukam role, where he's playing base downs as defensive end, and then they're trying to bring in Drake Jackson as a pass rusher on the outside. And neither one of those have really established themselves to be able to play that third role. And so they're looking to bring in somebody else who can bring that you can put Javon Hargrave, Nick Bosa, maybe Drake Jackson, maybe Armstead out there with Randy Gregory. And now, man, you got a lot of options. You got a lot of athletic guys. You got guys who have been productive, who can get after the passer. And man, now you really adding to this defensive line that could just come at you in waves.
Yeah, I wanted to go over some of the details. They did originally plan to release him. Who he signed a 5-year, $70 million deal with the team in 2022, and they were unable to find a trade partner for him. He's 30 years old, and they will, like we said, they'll send Gregory and a 2024 seventh round pick to the Niners for a 2024 sixth round pick. Now, Denver will also pay the remaining prorated 14 million base. That's according to Pro Football Talk. He's appeared in 4 games so far this season, 9 tackles, 2 for loss, and a sack. So now let me ask you this: as we those are some of the figures. Let's now, as we kind of lick our chops and look at what we have in place and Steve Wilks and all that, what do you think? Like, what's a good combo? Like, where does he line up? That kind of thing. Have we had enough time to even digest this and go through that yet?
I'm not even sure we've really had enough time to digest it. I literally saw it while I was in line at the school to pick up my daughter from school, and it just like flashed on there, and I saw an alert from Tom Pelissero, and I was like, "Wait, is 49ers trade what?" And I
Yeah.
look it up, and it was plot twist: the 49ers trade for this, and then I found out the compensation. I was like, "Shoot, man, no
Hmm.
way! Like that's great. You're getting the guy for almost nothing, and you know." Denver was really backed into a corner here. Is that somehow he had fallen out of favor there in Denver. They pulled him off of the field near the end of the Bears game when the Bears had been kind of torching them, and obviously there was some discontent between the two parties there, and Denver was really looking to move on. And like you said, they gave him that big contract. And the fun thing about this, the great thing about this is that the 49ers aren't locked in with him with dead money at this point. Yeah, you make the trade, yeah, he had a pretty big contract, but
Yeah.
he's either going to be productive, and if he's not, you're paying him base salary. You can move on. Denver's stuck with the dead money on that. You have a player that either this is a boom or not too big of a deal if you don't sort of player that if it doesn't work out, well, guess what? You release him, you move on from him, and you don't carry the dead cap because
Right.
Denver is, So and kind of like I said, I feel like this is gonna be they're gonna be looking over the next few weeks of where does he fit best? Does he fit in as that defensive end, or does he fit into that Charles Omenihu role where you're bringing him in as an athletic guy and you're able to bring him in inside and sit there and you can either match him up against a guard, or you can run all these stunts, you can run all these twists, all these things that we were able to do with Omenihu that you're able to do now with either Drake Jackson or Farrell or Randy Gregory. I think it gives you a really good combo there of those three guys. And I think they've been trying to figure out what is the best combo of those three guys. Because generally, Drake Jackson and Kerry Hyder have been coming in as that second wave defensive line. And one thing I noticed from the Arizona game was that much of that 99-yard touchdown drive we gave up, the first half of that, they were going up against pretty much our second wave defensive line. It was Kerry Hyder, it was Givens, Javon Kinlaw, and Drake Jackson on the field. And it was like that allowed Arizona to get their momentum, to get going in there. And so are we looking at, okay, now we're able to bring somebody else in. There are questions about Drake Jackson. I love Drake Jackson. I think he's done great as far as a guy, and obviously had the 3 sacks against Pittsburgh. A lot of those were the result of Nick Bosa, though, and Javon Hargrave. But where is he kind of fitting in this? He's in his second year now. I think they're looking for a little bit more. But you also, when you have a guy who has the potential for blue chip talent like Gregory does, I think you take a swing at it. You're in win now mode. Let's go.
Depth for me, it's just depth. I'll take every good player. I was making fun of the Bears and talked about, hey, DJ Moore, and then look what he did yesterday. Like, hey, again, if you told me we got DJ Moore, depth. If you told me we got, Jason Kelsey, depth. If you told, like, give me good players, we'll figure out a way. That year that we had Dion and Ricky Jackson and all these guys, it was about depth. We are just scooping up all these guys. And if that's what we're doing, then I'm absolutely on board, because good players win football games, not your, like you said, not the second string guys. They don't typically, they're not going to win you a game. So definitely excited to see. We'll wait and see how they use them for what next. That would be, is that the Browns? Maybe that we look to maybe see him on the field, see what they say. But
Yeah,
right,
most likely. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So let's look ahead now to Dallas, and I have some
Well,
stats
we have a
here.
question here, Adam.
Oh,
If you look at the screen,
yes. So why did we get him instead of getting a cornerback? All right. Well, let's get into it. Why do you think?
so this I just put that up there because it's something that I've seen a ton of. I don't know if you've seen this, but I've seen a ton of people saying we need to go get Patrick Surtain. We need to go get Surtain. Go get
Mm,
Surtain. Go get Surtain. Okay, understand that this buzz about getting Patrick Surtain is not coming from rumors out of these organizations that the 49ers are linked to Surtain or that the Broncos are looking to move Surtain on. This is literally fans are creating a buzz of a guy that I want, a dream guy you want on the team, and saying we should go get him. The problem with that is because I've had a bunch of people in my comments on my videos say we need to go get Surtain, we need a corner, we need a lockdown corner, and I go, okay, well that's great to want one, doesn't mean a team's going to give you one. This is a situation I see it very similarly to they treated Champ Bailey in Denver. Sertan was the guy to be Champ Bailey that they finally found to replace him after Champ Bailey retired, and was a guy that was there forever. And they traded for him.
yeah.
They traded away Clinton Portis to get him. That they're not giving up Sertan. Okay, that is wishful thinking by fans out here that they would give us Patrick Sertan. They are not going to give us Patrick Sertan. They Patrick Sertan, one, you're probably looking at like 3 first-round picks to go get him if they will give him to you. And probably you're going to have to throw a pretty good player in there too to get it, because 49ers first round picks aren't as valuable. We're looking at being near the end of the first round. So especially if you give up a guy like Sertan, you're probably looking at the 32nd pick in the draft. Well, Denver's not just going to give him away. And two, it's not like you're getting him on his first or second year of his contract. He's on his third year of his contract. So he's going to be looking for a contract extension soon. It's all great to want a top tier cornerback, but they just aren't available. There's not that many of them out there, and teams don't just let them walk out the door while they're coming into their prime, especially in this league. So, we can want a top tier cornerback all we want, but that's why you get him. When you compare it to why not get a cornerback instead? Well, you're not going to get a corner anywhere close to the same kind of talent level as Randy Gregory is across the league as far as his position. You're not going to get that at cornerback, a commensurate level of talent at cornerback for
Yeah.
near the cost that you gave up for Gregory. Gregory is a situation where something soured there, and they were able to take advantage of it, much like the Dolphins were able to with Chase Claypool. Okay, they just went and picked him up for basically very similar compensation as a bag of Fritos. That they were able to pick him up for, or even you could say a bag of Funyuns, and
Ew.
and that's what they got. So I love the trade. I think it's great. It's great to want to think about having a cornerback, but that's just not realistic, I think, in the league market.
Yeah, for sure. I have to address. Can you guys see? Ooh, if those of you watching live on YouTube, you're gonna make a comment of the background. I learned how to change the lighting, and so yes, I am in my layer, and it's a red layer because Bang Bang Niner Gang. So I can make it different shades if you like, but I have it as red, so it looks like like a red light district, but it's Bang Bang Niner Gang, so that's why it's looking this way. I'm just toying around here in the studio, so I love, and I am plotting world Spy Kids villain. I love it. So yeah, I'm just having some fun with this background, and I appreciate you guys noticing. All right. So speaking of notice, the Dallas Cowboys have officially been put on notice that they are about to lose, and we're gonna go through why. Um, as the comments keep boosting the algorithm, guys. Keep
Watching from Guam.
watching from Love it. So, all right. So I have some team stats here that I want to get into, and I want to see where maybe some of our obvious advantages are. And so we look at from an offensive standpoint what Dallas does. And so total yards, they average 373 yards a game, which is 11th in the league. Passing yards at 218, which is middle of the road, 15th. And then rushing yards 141 is ranked 7th. That's pretty good. Points per game, they've had some laughers. They got to play the New York Giants just like we did. And so they are averaging 31 points a game. Third down percentage, I think, to me, is the X factor, as they are number one in the league at 51.6 conversion rate. So if we look at that, does anything else stand out to you guys in the chat? And Johnny, what are some of the things that you look at and say, well, it's because they played so and so? You know, there's a lot of people saying that about us. Look at who we played. Our numbers are inflated because look at, we got to play the Giants. The Steelers have shown how bad they are. What gives?
Well, so I sometimes I'm not a huge fan of they've played these people, arguments, because that's, like you said, that's been used on us. Okay, well, you haven't played any good teams out there, and things happen. Well, you can say the same thing about Dallas. I mean, Dallas played the Jets without Aaron Rodgers. They played the Giants, which we whipped them to. Now they put a shellacking on the Giants. That was a weird game, though. That was a
40
game
to
that
0, right?
I mean, it was like somewhere in there, Dable just decided that he didn't want to give Daniel Jones any help at all, and just basically fed him to the Lions, that they were going to drop back every single play against that front, and they're going 3 and out every drive. That was such a weird game,
and fumbling the ball and missing
yeah,
kicks and all kinds
I mean, like, that was one of those, I was sitting there the whole time going, what is Dable trying to do here? Like, are you just trying to hope that your line will stand up? And literally, they're just getting mauled every single play, and he's dropping back every single play. It almost started to feel like when somebody gets down by 3 scores in Madden and they just start throwing Hail Marys every single play, and then they rage quit by the third quarter. I mean, that's what it felt like. And so it was like, what are they even doing here? It's just a game that became an absolute runaway, really, really quickly. And then you look at them go play San Francisco, and the offensive game plan was very different. They sat there and they kept 6, 7, 8 men into block almost every single time they dropped back.
Yeah.
And they still, they scored 12 points. Okay, big whoop. And then they turn around and they go against the Seahawks, and they go back to the same game plan they had against Dallas, and Daniel Jones gets sacked 11 times. I don't understand what's going on there with New York. And so Dallas feasts there. They put an absolute shellacking on the Washington Commanders, who just got whooped by the Bears, that was their first win in 347 days.
Right.
Who
They won
also
for Dick
then
Butkus.
who also then I look like I'm ready to go pod racing. Are you saying I look like Anakin Skywalker?
No,
What
I
in the
think
world?
I think, or no.
No, he said Johnny looks like he's.
Oh,
Steve Rule said Johnny looks like he's ready to go pod racing.
pod race.
What in the world? Okay.
No, we're
I mean,
ready to
I
talk
love the
Niners.
Star Wars. I dig the Star Wars reference, but
Same.
but the Bears are not a good team, and Washington
Right.
just got hammered by them. I think Washington will start to figure things out as the season goes, but they looked terrible last night. And so the Cowboys beat them. And so you're talking about their wins are the Giants, the Commanders, and the Jets. And none of these teams are offensive powerhouses. That's why Dallas is leading the league in points allowed. And then when the other team can't move the ball and they're sacking you all the time, your offensive numbers are going to look good, and it lets you stay in your game plan in being conservative on offense. So when you look at what happened with am I missing that? Did they not play Washington? I thought I looked up their
Patriots.
The Patriots. That's what it was. I'm sorry.
38-3. Yeah.
The Patriots. I was looking up somebody else's schedule. That was the Bills. I was looking at the Bills schedule, and
they shellacked them. Yes, the
yeah.
Bills did.
Yeah, and so that's what it was. Sorry, it's all the things I've been looking up throughout the day are all blending together. But anyways, they're not any better. And so, but then they play the Arizona Cardinals, a team that can run the ball and that stays on that stays committed to the run, and all of a sudden Dallas's team looks completely different. I think that's the big difference, is that when Dallas isn't playing with a big lead, all of a sudden now Dak's pressing and he's throwing a pick in the end zone, and they're not getting the plays they're getting, and they're pressing on defense. When they're able to play from a lead, and when they're able to play from the front, that's how Dallas is built. Is that then their pass rushers get after you? They don't let you. They just feast. I mean, because they got some scary rushers, and they're able to run the ball a little bit, throw some short passes, keep it in third and shorts, third and manageables, and so that's just kind of happens. And yeah, I know they were down some starting offensive linemen against Arizona, but their problems against Arizona weren't just starting offensive linemen. When you look at their defense gave up 182 rushing yards in the first half against Arizona. Okay,
Yeah,
that was a huge problem. You can't turn around and say it's because you're missing your starting offensive line is why your defense is giving up 182 rushing yards in the
right.
first half. First half, okay. They gave up like 247 rushing yards altogether, and then Dak threw a horrible pick in the end zone, which he wasn't being pressured on. Those aren't things that are a result that I mean, Dallas fans are going to say that, well, we were down our starting offensive lineman. Well, that explains why Van Der Esch was out of position. There you go. So it's a thing that I think Dallas, I put this on Twitter, Dallas is trying to prove in this game that they're legitimate, that they are a legitimate contender this year.
Yeah.
Everybody knows San Francisco is. There's no doubt across the league that San Francisco is a contender this year. That, I mean, in every power rankings, the 49ers are number one or number two. Going into the season, everybody knew if the quarterback situation was steady in San Francisco, the team is so talented that this is a Super Bowl contending team. Nobody doubts San Francisco as a contender. Everybody doubts Dallas as being legitimate come January. That Dallas is usually going to win a lot of games, but they have not been able to be a serious contender come January for a long time. And so Dallas is trying to show this is their moment to say we are legitimate. San Francisco is they're looking at making a statement to the rest of the league that anybody who thinks they can hang with the 49ers are going to get the ever-living daylight slapped out of them.
Hey, and we have a super chat. Jonathan Query says, "My peeps, haven't talked to you all since I spent too much money on super chat and got in trouble with the wife drinking, but y'all don't remember." Yeah, what are you
No,
talking
we
about?
do. No, we do remember that. Yeah, no, he was throwing super chats left and right. He was having a good night that night. Thank you so much for the super chat, Jonathan. Great name. I'm a Jonathan as well. That's why there's no H in the Johnny Dell. That's a common mistake. Most people put an H in there, think it's a
Yep.
JOHN, but no, I'm a Jonathan. So yeah, thank you so much for the super chat.
Yeah, man, we really appreciate it. All right, so one thing though that stuck out, like I said, what do you make of the third down conversion, and how does that affect our defense when we definitely want to get off the field? Do you think a coaching staff looks at that? Do they look at the film and see what are they doing on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8? Like, is there certain things that they're keying on, that they're doing, or is it just like, nope, we're gonna line up, you have to worry about us?
Well, I think they're definitely going to look at it. Whenever you're giving up a number of third downs, I think Arizona at one point Arizona was 8 of 15 on third down, something like that, and that looks a little bit better than it was because they ended up converting 2 fourth downs, and so it was really they were like 10 of 15 at one point.
Yeah.
And you're giving up 66% of your third downs. That's an issue, and so you can't give up 10 third downs in a game, and expect, or 10 first downs in a game, and expect to be really really successful as time goes. And so I think what the coaching staff is going to look at is and really hammer on is that we need to force those 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 7s, and then get off the field. You can't allow this Dallas team. They have a lot of speed at wide receiver. They have a lot of weapons. Okay, you can't sit there in 3rd and 3 every single time and expect to be successful against them. So that means you have to stop the run early. You have to take away They're going to want to hit you with screen passes. They're going to want to hit you with little dump offs. You have to try and take those away early. What Dallas has been showing is that they aren't wanting to push the ball down the field on the early downs. They're looking to push the ball down the field in the second and shorts, third and shorts. That's when they're looking to push the ball down the field. First down, they're looking at Mike McCarthy with this offense. When you watch the tape, has really been about let's stay ahead of the chains, let's stay on schedule here. And so if I'm Steve Wilkes, I'm coming in saying, guys, we have got to be on it on first and second down. We haven't been doing a good enough job, specifically second down. That's where we've been giving up too many to get into that 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3 area. And against this team, that is not going to fly. We have got to force 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, and then feast and really get after them on those downs and take advantage.
Yeah, no question. We have another, of course, the lovely Lisa, another super chat. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Now the Niners will know all the secrets of the Cowgirls offense. Some of these people are so delusional. And yeah, there was talk of like, oh, Trey Lance is telling this and we have this guy. And like at some point, I love that Kyle Shanahan said, well, at some point, I mean, everyone can just watch film. Like it's not that hard. Like is basically what he was saying. I think that's kind of funny too.
Yeah, I think there's this perception, and it's funny because I remember, and this is just how my mind works. I remember Mike Nolan, the old Mike Nolan, former head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. I think it was 2007 or 2008. They were talking to him about, I think a team had picked up one of our players right before a game, or we had picked up one of their players, and he was asked, it was a similar thing. Are they going to give you a bunch of information on the team? And he said something to the effect of, well, there's actually a lot less secrets around the league than people think. Everything's pretty much there on tape, and people know what you want to do and what you're going to try and do. So it's a situation where I think that really applies. There's a lot less secrets out there than I think people think. I mean, look, you can get a lot of these playbooks online anyways. So and even if you watch the tape enough. I mean, these are teams that have 20 different guys watching the tape in a more thorough way than I even watch the tape, because this is literally their job, and
Right.
they are working long hours to do this. And these are people that know more about football than I do, and they're pouring through this stuff, and they're going to have guys that literally just chart out the coverage rules that they're seeing. They're going to take a look at all these different things, and every time they're in cover 3, they're going to have a breakdown of every single time a team plays cover 3, and you can look at how they match every single thing that they're going to do, and try and figure out their rules, when there's busts, when there's not. I mean, for example of how easy some of this stuff is to find, if my button will load here, we'll show you guys. This is Dan Quinn's playbook right here, if anybody wants to see it. This is the Seattle Seahawks 2013 playbook. So there you go. There's Dan Quinn's playbook. We can go in here and you see what their coverage rules are. That this is the Reno coverage is the form of cover 3, and how they match different routes. If you saw my video on the 49ers defense that I put out this year, or yesterday, not this year, I talked about how there was one play that Fred Warner, he covered really well one time. We saw him covering that receiver down the middle of the field. And then the next play we saw him, he got burned on the exact same play. This is that play. So you see the Mike is responsible for matching the number 3 receiver down the field on this route. That's where this comes from. This is, that system that originally this kind of coverage comes from Bill I was about to say Bill Belichick, but it was really Nick Saban from working under Belichick. And so, here you go with, if people really want to know the secrets, there it is. If I can get it, I guarantee you Kyle Shanahan and his team can get it. So,
Right.
I don't think it's a situation where they're necessarily able to get a lot of information, a lot of extra information off of that stuff, because you still have to play these assignments. You still have to win your matchups. You still have to have your offensive line handle their defensive line. And it's about how you sequence things, and can you stay ahead of the other guy, because you're both, it really is like professional level chess. Everybody in playing professional chess knows all the moves, knows what moves people want to do. It's about staying one step ahead of a guy that still knows what you want to do and leveraging that. So in the end, yeah, Trey Lance could tell him what our plays are, but that doesn't necessarily mean how we're going to sequence them, how we're what formations we're going to run them out of,
Yeah.
and so many plays look like other plays. It's about keeping everybody off balance.
I think maybe what the misconception may be is like certain tendencies. Like when Trey Lance is in the quarterback room with Brock Purdy, he has maybe seen some things that the way Brock Purdy will look at something or like, oh, he touched his hip. So when he does that, that means he's throwing an out to juice. So make sure linebackers, all right, Micah Parsons, look for him to touch his hip. Like they're waiting for like that kind of info that could make a difference is what I feel like is happening.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit with player tendencies, but that's also why you have coaching or position coaches that are sitting there trying to tell your guys not to do some of this stuff. Plus, you're also
Right.
talking about like some of this stuff is really hard to see and do as you go. Now, that kind of stuff is again like Shanahan said, it's on tape itself. We had a wonderful conversation with Jesse Sapolu, and he was talking about how he did that during the week. We asked him, "What was your week really preparation like?" Right, and he was talking about how on Wednesdays they would have the install, and then starting Wednesday afternoon they come out of practice, he would go in and he would start watching film of his matchups that week. And so he
Yeah.
would sit there and watch the guys that whether it be 2 or 3, those guys that were going to be rotating in against him, what they looked like, what they did. And he was watch that then on Thursday and Friday and Saturday. Okay, that it was constantly watching your opponents, looking for every little thing. Yeah, Trey Lance could tell him, "Hey, Brock, like when he looks this way, he's looking to do that." Okay, well, that helps a little bit, I guess, but that's probably already going to be seen because you have position coaches looking at this. You have players on the other side that are looking at this, and they're spending 20, 25 hours watching 3 of your games, going back and watching every single play you have, every single snap you have 15, 20 times. They're going to pick this up anyways.
Yeah.
So, it's not like it's like what Shanahan said. If you watch the film, it's already there. It's not like this is giving an extra advantage in any way.
Right. So then let me ask you this. We talked a little bit about third down conversions. What is some of your X factors? What are some of the things that you're looking for? For example, who can have the battle of time of possession or things like that. What are you looking for based on what Dallas is trying to do?
Well, based upon what Dallas is trying to do, I think the biggest factor is going to be, do you force them to not be able to try and rely on Tony Pollard in the run game? Um, while
You
Mike
sell out
McCarthy,
a little bit.
I don't think you sell out, but what it means is that you have to really control your gaps. One thing that Mike McCarthy loves is a big inside zone guy. He's a big duo guy. Loves that kind of running. Now they've been doing a little bit more gap scheme with Tony Pollard this year, but what that means is that your defensive tackles are going to have to be really unselfish this week. That means a lot of eating up double teams and just hunkering down and anchoring versus double teams so that you can let Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw run around, use their speed. Don't let Tony Pollard just get in there and try and hide behind his offensive line and then pick a hole. What you've got to have your defensive tackles anchor, and then you fill aggressively, and you stop that so that you aren't going to be letting these 2 and 3 and 4 yard runs. You want to shut those down. You don't want to be able to let Dak be in 3rd and 4 and be able to get the ball out quick. He's dropped his time to throw big time this year, and so you want Dak to be last year's playoff Dak. You don't want Dak to be the quick passing game Dak where he can just dump it down and go for it. So I think that's the thing. You have to stop the run. And how that comes against this scheme is your defensive tackles have to anchor, and they have to anchor against double teams. So that means unselfish play. Elijah Mitchell's probably not playing on Sunday. He hasn't been practicing. That's a guy that, man, just cannot stay healthy with his knees. It's really unfortunate to see. On offense, I really think this is going to be another big. It's going to be another big Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk game. After Diggs went out, one thing that the
Yeah.
Cardinals were able to do was really go after Bland. I think it's Deron Bland. for the Cowboys in man coverage. And, looking through this Seahawks playbook that I have, it's sitting here over here on the other screen. Quinn loves to play zone coverage or cover one. That's what it's going to be. You're going to see a lot of zone coverage and then cover one. And his zone coverage is mostly matching coverages. Okay. He is a big time matching coverage guy. And if I jump back to this playbook here, again, this is the 2013 Seahawks playbook. This is matching zones. So this is all the same zone coverage, but what you're seeing here is how they are matching certain routes and what the coverage rules are to match these. And so they're giving examples of different plays. Okay. Like here you have a levels concept, and that's how they're going to match against that. You have a smash concept, how they're going to match against the smash concept. Here you have a little bit of a sail action going on, how you match against that. Here, this is a drive concept. This is how you match against the drive. Over here, we have the double slant. That's how you match against double slant. Here you have a stick and line. So you're seeing the concepts written up here. And then seams X shallow. So you have a verticals concept. He's calling it seams, of how they match against that. You have, and this is, again, different systems call different things, what they're calling trump slot dino, is usually I refer to as a double post concept over here. This is how they match that. So, this is what the teams do, and they have coverage rules that will match for certain things. So when they're writing out their coverage rules, this is all about how do we take away plays that people run. Like this is a full sail concept over here. This is how they match that. And so, for people, I remember for years you think, well, Seattle just runs cover 3 zone. Why don't you just sit there and run a flood concept against them all the time? Well, guess what? They have rules in coverages to be able to protect themselves against that concept. This is not where, like playing Madden, where it's just going to be this, they're going to play cover 3 zone and guys are going to drop in the same spot every time, no matter what is being run against them. Right. So they have all of these different things. These are what matching zones look like. Okay. This is not man coverage. These are matching zones. Okay. And these are the rules that Kyle Shanahan and his offensive staff are going to be figuring out. And so when you're in these, a lot of times what that ends up creating is that in the end, it's very similar to man coverage. You're going to have one-on-one matchups. And so how do you figure it out to where you get Christian McCaffrey on Leighton Vander Esch in that zone? So where do you put Christian McCaffrey? And this is where the extent of what makes Kyle Shanahan such a good play caller and what they call play designer. So how do you structure that play? And where do you put Christian McCaffrey to make sure that he's the one who's going to be matched by Leighton Vander Esch, who you see as a mismatch, or their other linebacker? Okay, in this kind of thing. And then how do you get Seattle into that coverage so that you can take advantage of that? It reminds me very much of what I was talking about last podcast about there was a play that JT O'Sullivan was like, I'm not really sure what they're trying to do here. And I was saying that they were trying to get Christian McCaffrey open up underneath. It was about how you were affecting that, and why Juszczyk was the guy in there running the deep corner route. Because when you come out in this formation with this personnel package, that's when you get Arizona to be in their cover 3 zone. And that's what you're wanting to go against, that coverage. And so when you hear Kyle Shanahan talk about it's about the coverages and the fronts that they're running. Okay. That's the kind of stuff he's talking about is what you're calling is based upon what looks we're getting off of what we're doing and what personnel we're bringing out there. And so, and it was just like how, Technician was saying, yes, like Sherm was talking in his podcast about how when Kyle came to play the Seahawks, how he was busting the rules. And this was one of those coverages. Okay. For an example, you're going to see, I'll bring it up here. I'll share it again. One of these rules here of some of the things that what Sherm was talking about. What Sherm said was that when they had a guy attached to the formation, that the corner was going to be matching that a breaking route on that. Okay, so what Kyle would do is he would have this tight end attached, and then he would bring a guy in motion, and so that corner is already bailing out and you have a halfback running to the flat, and then you're going to bring this guy out here and just run him down the field. And all of a sudden now you're going to get a guy wide open. Why? Because you broke the rules. They don't have a way to match that. And so that's the kind of stuff that Kyle Shanahan was looking at doing and beating them with. So, so it's a situation where that's what you're looking at from Kyle Shanahan is he going to be able to get those matchups and exploit those matchups? And that's how he does it. So, for people who always, we hear some of these words from coaches and we hear some of these words from things, and you think it means one thing, but I think there's a little bit more to it that sometimes we realize.
For sure. One reminder that I want to give is if you are watching on YouTube, you are a part of the conversation. We love having you on. If you are catching this not on the live recording, it may be because you have not hit the notification bell on YouTube or you have not liked and subscribed. So make sure you're doing that so that you are in the know when we go live. If you are catching us later on the audio side of things, you can catch us wherever you grab your podcast. But if you would like to catch us on YouTube, then make sure you follow all of the videos that Johnny provides as he breaks down and this channel goes over the whys and hows of the game. So why do you think we are going to win, and how are we going to get it done? So let's go through some predictions. Earlier, I think it was WR who said 27-20 was his guess for the game. What say you and why?
I'm hoping it's going to be a blowout. I really
just because you hate Dallas.
This is a hard one for me. Yeah, right. Okay.
Which I don't disagree. I'm not. It's hard for me to disagree with you.
Well, it's hard for me to be
give him credit or something, or like,
yeah, this is good. Yeah, well, in one where I can be unbiased.
They have playmakers
and anything
at
because
both
I
levels.
hate Dallas. Okay, yeah, that's fine. They have playmakers. They're a very talented team. I'll give them that. But I don't want to sit here and admit that I think they're going to score more than 3 points. I don't want to admit that, and I don't want to sit here and admit that I think they're gonna hold us to less than 24. Why? Because I hate Dallas, and that goes back as far as I can remember. I remember I was 10 years old watching the NFC Championship game in 1994 when we finally beat Dallas, and Eric Davis picked off Troy Aikman for a pick 6 early in that game, and I had put my entire piggy bank on that game as a bet against my best friend because he was a Cowboys fan. All right, so this rivalry runs as deep as it is. My wife has learned about this Cowboys rivalry. I remember we played them, I think it was in the early 2010s, and we hadn't been together that long, and I was like, yeah, it's Dallas. She goes, why is the hate for Dallas? And she had to sit there and hear like an hour and a half long history of the 49ers in Dallas and why this is such a big deal. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. Like the 90s and 49ers rivalry, we hate Dallas. She was like, that was so long ago. I'm like, don't even. It was not that long ago. And I hate Dallas and everything, and I guess it's also hard for me too, because this rivalry also makes me feel a little bit old and I don't want to admit it, because I'm like, yeah, just back not too long ago when we beat Dallas in the NFC Championship game, and people look at you and go, that was 30 years ago, dude. And I'm like,
hey, I'm a little bit older than you, so I'm right with you. Now, at least we do have the present, the last couple years where we're the ones putting them out and they look bad. So we have that at least.
Well, yeah. But that's built upon the foundation of what happened in the 90s.
No question.
And how hard those teams were, because there's a reason why 49ers and fans hate Dallas so much. And it comes from that time in the 90s. But, I think about it, I'm like, God, that was 29 years ago. I sure do feel old, and the older I'm feeling anymore, the more I'm starting to really think about how, I really have to be careful where I am in life. I'm 38 years old and I got 3 kids, and my father passed away at 62 years old from cancer. And I start thinking, man, it starts making you realize like life can be a little bit short. And so I've started to really think about what I'm putting in my body and the long-term consequences of that. And that's why I love that we have partnered with White Oak Pastures. It's one of our newest affiliates, a place where you can have healthier options for what you are including in your nutrition plan, whatever that is. One thing that we've looked at that we've learned in nutrition and everything over the years is that what you put in your body really does make a huge impact. And White Oak Pasture is a place where you can be absolutely confident that what you are putting in your body is good for you, and that it doesn't include, they don't use any herbicides on the land, they don't use any pesticides, they use no antibiotics on their cattle, because guess what? They're able to live out in the pastures where they aren't in an unsanitary environment in a stall being kept there, being fed things like corn syrup. I mean, most people don't know the corn syrup the high fructose corn syrup that's put in your sodas was really, a lot of time, it was developed to fatten up cows, just to make cows a lot fatter. And they aren't given growth hormones, that they're able to live naturally. And guess what? When you eat that stuff, you feel so much better and it's so much healthier for you. And they found that the balance of omega-6s to 3s out of like a grass-fed, grass-finished cow is so much better for you, that the rates of cancer have really dropped. And so, that's how I feel. I'm looking at things of like, look, this has been a thing in my family. I had 6 aunt and uncles, and 4 of them had cancer. And I started looking at, okay, I have to look at things that I'm putting in my body, and am I putting myself at risk? Because I want to be here for my kids when I'm 80 years old. I want to be here for my grandkids and my great grandkids. And so I love the fact that we can partner with a place like White Oak Pastures, and you can go to whiteoakpastures.com/JD49 and check out all their stuff. And you also can use coupon code JD49 to get $20 off your first order of $150 or more. Because guess what? Yeah, it is a little bit more investment in your nutrition, but guess what? I want to be here for my kids, for my grandkids. And so what's cheaper? Stuff at the grocery store or buying my casket? Sometimes that's what it is. I know it sounds a little crazy, but look, when like I said, the older I've gotten, the more I've realized the long-term health effects of what I have in my nutrition plan. So check out whiteoakpastures.com/JD49.
Yep.
And Bryant Culp is asking about the Lawnmower 4.0. Drop the code. There's some things I can't tell you, Bryant, but I will say you might want to wait a few weeks if you're thinking about a lawnmower. Just going to say that. All right. I have some big news on that front coming very soon. Just wait a few weeks if you're interested in a lawnmower. I'm just going to say, I literally just got an email, literally while I was sitting here, that some things shipped off to Adam and me.
Excited.
And that's all I can say. They have been very, very specific. I cannot talk about
one thing that we can talk about is time. Lisa, another super chat. Thank you. So I did not. Did you listen to the Undisputed podcast? I did not yet. From Keyshawn and Michael Irvin. What's crazy is that Irvin was praising the 49ers for 5 minutes. And it's hard not to when you look at how dominant we are on both sides of the ball. But it's funny. Like, did you screen record it, Lisa? Like, that's something you got to have on tape and like have it and watch it later. Like, hey, the Cowboys guy is showing love to the 49ers. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, hey, sometimes though, like you can't talk about this 49ers team and say anything but they're good. I mean, there's nothing with this 49ers team that we as fans have been like, oh man, the defense. And I'll say the defense is giving up 14.5 points per game. 2013 Legion of Boom Seahawks gave up 14.44 points per game. Look, I mean, yeah, we gave up some first downs against Arizona, and maybe New York scored more points against us than they had been against other teams, and other teams look so dominant against them. The defense is not playing that poorly. You can't, at least there's no evidence there where you can sit there and say this team does not have a good defense, because you look at the defense on paper and man, they got a stacked defense. I mean, they got all pros at each level of the defense. You got Nick Bosa, you got Javon Hargrave, you got Fred Warner, you got Talanoa Hufanga. Okay, you have all pros at each level of that defense. You look at the offense, they have all pros at every area of the offense. You got Trent Williams, you got Christian McCaffrey, you got George Kittle, you got Deebo Samuel. These guys are all pro. And that's not even talking about Brock Purdy, who's been playing out of his mind, and Brandon Ayuk, who's ascending to be what I think a top 10 wide receiver in this league. So you can't talk about the 49ers and not say good things about them. They could try, but Michael Irvin would lose every bit of his credibility if he did that. Much like Skip Bayless. He would just turn into Skip Bayless at that point.
And speaking of that, I even feel a little bit weird when I see Jerry Rice and Emmett Smith in the same commercial. I'm like, Jerry, don't. What are you doing, buddy? Like, so. Oh, as
Right?
we have another super chat, what are the chances that Gregory plays this Sunday? I mean, is it 0.00%?
I don't think it's 0.2. I think they'll have a
Really?
package for him. I mean, what's going to happen here is Wilkes is going to put together a package of like 3 or 4 plays, um, as far as rush plays. I mean,
Is he
because
in the building
in
yet?
the
What I
end,
mean, dude, it
okay,
just happened.
I don't think he's in the building, but I mean, he's going to be in the building by tonight,
Yeah, but tomorrow's
late this
Saturday.
afternoon, and so yeah, but Christian McCaffrey got traded for on Thursday night and ended up playing in like 20 plays
That's
that Sunday.
yeah,
And Christian McCaffrey had a lot bigger of a load than what Randy Gregory would have. Randy Gregory, he doesn't even have to know the play. Literally, they can say, okay, when we put you out there, we want you to do is do what you do. Go in at left defensive end and beat the right tackle. That's all they
fair.
need to do. I mean, and so like
Stunts and
what they're
stuff
going to
and
do is
schemes, I
they're
guess I
not going
would like,
to
you know.
yeah, they're not going to run those with him. I don't think. I mean, those take time to get down the timing of it. So I don't think they're going to run any stunts or anything crazy like that with him. What they're going to do is that they're going to have him just go out there and do what you do best, and that's beat the right tackle. So you know that yeah, they can throw him out there for 8-10, and it's not like they got to get him into
Yeah.
game shape. He's been playing football, so you know all it comes down to is now you pull him off the field when you want to do some of that stuff, but as far as go get the
Yeah,
passer,
that's
there you
fair.
go.
I want to bring up Juiced. He had two good questions. The first one that I want to go, since we're talking about him still, is he good at pass coverage, or is he just a pass rusher?
He's a player very similar like a Cleveland Farrell that, when Cleveland Farrell was drafted by the Raiders, they were more of a 3-4. And so he's like that outside linebacker, but really it's kind of like Alden Smith was an outside linebacker for us. He could drop into coverage, but that's not what we're going to be asking him to do. I mean, the only times we ask him to do that is like there's certain coverages where they have to peel off and cover the running back in the flat against on certain blitzes, but we're not going to be asking him for that to do that this
Sure.
week. He's mostly just a pure pass rusher. When he was in Dallas, he was pretty
Yeah.
much a defensive end, and so he played in Dan Quinn's scheme as a defensive end, and so that's what he does, and he's pretty good at it. I mean, he probably would have had more sacks if Micah Parsons wasn't eating up sacks on the other
Yeah.
side.
And then there was another question that I liked from Juiced earlier. When you watch, are you analyzing the game while you watch, or do you just watch it casually and then afterwards you analyze it in a deeper perspective later? Great question.
That is a good question. So, yes and yes. Sort of. While I'm watching the game, I can't turn the mind off. So if I notice things, my poor wife, when she has had to watch certain games with me, I'll be sitting there. I'm like, oh, that was awesome. That was a pin concept, and we totally got this free safety on that. And she's just
Yeah,
like,
but you don't rewind it
mm-hmm.
and go back.
And
But
oh,
then
yes,
how
I
do you
do.
catch
Yes, I
live
do.
TV?
Yeah, I do. Then I fast forward through the commercials.
Man. But there could be a point in time where you're missing a live play though.
There could be,
You're
but
willing to,
that's a
okay, well,
chance
I'm
I'm
just
willing to take.
curious.
Yeah, and so I mean, I'm like but there's so much that you're limited by with the broadcast view
Oh,
that there's
for
only so
sure.
much
For
analyzing I
sure.
can do. And so there's a lot of times I've walked away from a game and I've been like, man, this was just rough in that game. And then I watched the film like, oh no, that was actually something else. That's why I tend to be a little conservative with my takes, like on Twitter during the games. Is it's kind of like how Kyle says after a press conference, yeah, I'm gonna have to watch the tape and see exactly what happened there. That's generally the attitude I
Yeah.
I stick with it. But there are certain things that I can see during the broadcast, and I'm like, and
There was a
usually that gets me
play
fired up. So
there was
I
a
can't
play
turn
one
it
time
off.
where the entire world thought, I think, that Huff blew an assignment, and then later we realized he was having his brother's back, whoever it was. And sure, it looked like that Huff got burned, but Huff was just trying to get out there to get there because he saw it, but it wasn't his guy. And it's like that could be a kind of a situation where the whole world thinks, oh, this guy screwed up or whatever. But when you watch the film, you're like, oh, this guy either fell down or did not see the correct read. So I totally get that. But and I also get the mind not shutting off with my media company that I own. I'm always dissecting commercials and like different shots, and I'm like, why did they go in for a one shot here when they're talking about XYZ? Like I can't help it either. So like I totally get it. So okay, so prediction. Did we go through the actual? I'm imagining Johnny Dell being like Leo
It's true. It's true. There are times I'm like,
yeah. Like that meme.
I'm
Yep,
really,
yep.
I'm
No,
doing
that's
it. Yeah.
awesome. So did we go through predictions yet? Your actual prediction of
My prediction is that Dallas sucks and it's going to be 35 to 3. Okay, that's my prediction.
man. Okay, is it all right if I'm a bit more realistic? Am I going to get hate? But
You can be more realistic, but
don't
I
at
am
me,
not.
guys. I don't
I
want all this hate.
refuse.
I'm trying.
Oh no,
No,
at
brother.
him in the comments
No,
like
I was
crazy.
gonna give everyone my
Yeah,
Twitter, but
let
no,
him.
now I'm not. Don't. So, I mean, I just think that they do have playmakers, and Pollard, I have to admit, is a pretty good football player, and so I think Dak makes mistakes. I think he does throw a pick, at least one, because that's what Dak does. Dak do that. He do that. So that's we're gonna pick him off. They're gonna have some turnovers, but they will have a few drives that just frustrate us where man, they score and they may get 17 points. And so I'm putting them at 17. No one can stop us from getting 30. When I look at the defenses we play this year, I just don't and don't mute me. No, don't mute me. Choose saying just mute me. I do think that we still get 30 points. So I still think that it's a two-score game, and I'm going 31-17.
I'm kicking him out here for that. I'm just kidding. No, I had to. You said that they were going to score more than 14 points, so I had to kick you out there
I
for a
hope
second.
I'd rather be wrong, of course. How about 40 burger? 40-0. Okay, there.
There we go. There we go. That's I like that. I mean, realistically, yeah, is it going to be a closer game? Yes. Okay, and especially looking when how the team matched up last year. But I hate Dallas so much. It's kind of like if we played the Seahawks. I don't care if they're really competitive in it, and it looks like it's going to be a 30 to 24 game. I don't want to sit there and give them any sort of credit or credence on anything. Screw them. I
Wait
hope
till
we
we get
blow
to
them out and
Philly.
beat them.
Jeez.
I'm analytic. Oh, it's going to be
50 to
terrible.
0.
Philly pulls out some things in me that are just
Yeah,
not good. Okay,
I've seen it.
because I'm sitting there. Yeah, yeah, he has, and he's
Yeah.
seen some of the text messages, and I'm like, look, no, this ain't no. Like I start sitting here, I'm going, it takes me to a dark place. And I
55-10.
can't do
Hey,
it.
I'm
I
in,
can't do it.
Randy.
55-10, 89 Super Bowl, 59, 55-10, 89
One of
Super
my
Bowl. There we
favorites.
go.
Randy
Every
Daytona.
single one. It's just what it is. So I hate Dallas. I don't want them to gain. It's kind of like that moment in Remember the Titans when coach pulls them off the sideline and he says, "I don't want them to gain another yard." And that's how I feel about with Dallas. I don't want them to gain a single yard. That's where my analyst hat comes off, and my lifelong 49ers fan hat goes on and just says, "Screw Dallas. I hate Dallas." And so I don't want them to win anything. I want them to lose and to be the 28th pick in the draft every year.
I will not argue. I am totally for that. I just live on Earth a little bit more sometimes, but I am full in for that. So we will have to see Sunday night, the only game in town. $1 million will be paid to Carrie Underwood. Every time they play that song, she gets $1 million. So congrats to Yeah, way to go,
Way to go,
Carrie,
Carrie. Yeah, way to go,
and
Carrie.
Taylor Swift, and we'll see all her commercials. So again, all of you guys, thank you for watching on YouTube. Remember to hit the notification bell. Remember to tell your friends. Remember to share with Niner fans when you see someone wearing Niner gear, no matter where you are. Ask them if they have their phone and take them to YouTube and show them Johnny Dale Football Academy. That's what I do. I'm always so excited to see someone in Indiana, no, of course, wearing Niner gear. I always go right up to them. That really helps the channel as we're still on the brink of 50,000 views, I believe, right, for that Brock Purdy video.
We're getting pretty close. We're trickling our way there. We're as some football people may say, we're matriculating down towards 50,000. Also, so people are aware, just got booked on like an hour ago or a little over an hour ago. I'm going to be on with Steph Sanchez tonight at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. And before that, at 6 p.m. Pacific time, I will be going live with Jack Hammer. We're going to be talking about the 49ers defense on that. He asked me to come on the show and help break down some film. We're going to go over some film clips there with him, and we're going to talk about the 49ers defense and probably, the newest edition a little bit more here. So if you want to catch us out then, we're going to be live with Jack Hammer over on his channel. It may be broadcast on mine. I'll have to confirm that with Jack.
Awesome.
Before we go on. That again is at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and then with Steph Sanchez at 7:30 p.m.
Sweet.
Pacific time.
So yeah, make sure you tune in to all of the things. We will catch you. Johnny and I will catch you after the Dallas slaughter, as I'm with Matt Flatulence or Mutt Flatulence, that I hope they forfeit. So that would be great too.
Yep.
So thank you again so much, everyone live in the chat. All of our favorites were in there today. So thank you for making it awesome. Thank you for watching. Take care of each other. And as always, go Niners.